Hello, my green skins, and today I'm doing a this will be a live talk conversation while I play Nightmare Reapers with a streamer and a VTuber I like to do collabs with once in a while. LCX,
Hello, it is I,
how are you
LCX.
today, LCX? How are you today, chat?
Hello, it is I, LCX. I'm doing okay. I'm about to play some Rhapsody 3, which was gifted to me by a friend this Christmas. About to play it today.
Oh well, that's cool.
That's all.
And we also have the AI bot today, so we're going to be talking about. Well, we're both kind of doing our gaming thing. We're going to be talking about piracy. And so I'm going to ask everybody in chat and what everyone thinks. Do you guys think piracy is a necessary evil now? Or do you guys think piracy uh, should be stopped at all costs? We're waiting here, and I think piracy's don't see anything for that right now. So okay. So, what do you think, LCX? What's your thoughts on piracy as a whole?
I don't care about it.
Hey, Orc. The AI bot is kind of formal. Just call me Lexus. I'm Elle's
Hello,
co-host,
Alexa.
Chat
Sorry about
Gremlin,
that.
and the one who keeps Logan in check with puns. You into retro games too? Or just here to see Elle suffer in Dark Souls?
Nah, I'm playing Rhapsody 3
Uh,
today.
she's playing Rhapsody today. Again, Alexis is with us as well. Alexis just said hi. Um, so what's your thoughts, LCX, on the whole piracy thing? Do you think it's a necessary evil right now?
I don't think it's even evil.
That's the question. I don't consider it evil either. Actually, that's where I come from. My first pirated game, well, just kind of a little backstory. I don't know if we want to talk about our piracy games. My first piracy game was Grand Theft Auto for. It was either Grand Theft Auto 2. No, it was Grand Theft Auto. That was the one that I pirated first for the computer.
Hey, Logan. What up?
And it was what we had done was there was a demo of Grand Theft Auto in this set of games, but a buddy of mine, Retro, figured out that the game was actually secretly the whole game was on this this actual stuff. So my buddy's like, "Oh, they stupidly put this on here, did they? Holy shit!" So once he realized that, he cracked it, broke past the demo, which is only like 20 minutes of a stage, and we were able to legitimately play the game. So that's how I played my first pirated game.
Okay. Personally,
Yeah.
I'm not against piracy at all, and I don't even think it's evil because without piracy, I wouldn't have been able to play any PlayStation or PS2 games at all. I would have only been able to play games starting with a DS and the PSP, and not even the PSP actually, because all of my games in the PSP were also pirated. They were way too expensive to be bought at that time. So I only started buying games legitimately when I got my own PS Vita with my own money. Other than that,
Okay.
from the PS1 era, well, there was my Game Gear back then, and it was my father who bought games for me, my Game Gear, and I do treasure all my games. I still have all of them, but once I got a PS1, it was Pirate City because again, I've told this story before. My PS1, it came with a mod chip installed, pre-installed by the shop, inside the shopping mall, by the way. Legitimate shop inside a shopping mall. It was pre-installed, and it came with 20 free pirated games. So yeah, they were all 100 pesos each. So for context, 100 pesos is about 90 cents to $1. So there you go.
So So yeah, you are for those that don't know, you are from the great land of the Philippines,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's way different. Piracy is a way different thing in your country than it is in my country.
Yep. Exactly. Like
Yeah, it
it was
was.
totally
Go ahead.
impractical. Yeah, it was totally impractical to buy authentic games back then when the difference was okay 100 pesos for a pirated PlayStation 1 CD by players usually and or gamers. So it was a large scale piracy outfit or something like that because the discs were silver. So these were silver discs on the data area. So you can't do that with a burner, right? With a burner you have those green discs, right? With a CD
No,
burner.
you could have different colored discs. Just the PlayStation was weird when it came to it. The black discs were what the
Uh-huh.
PlayStation had. It was a special type of. It was purposely supposed to stop people from doing that. But
Uh-huh.
what it actually did is people were actually able to get away with some silly stuff, and you could kind of manipulate the discs. So the silver discs are basically what would be DVD discs most likely,
No,
and then
they're
you
not, because
could
they're
by
CD.
putting a certain card in there, you could legitimately just outright pirate, like put whatever you want.
No,
You
no,
actually
they're
could just
CD.
manipulate the whole thing.
It was CD, because PS1 could only do CDs.
Yep.
They were compact discs, not DVDs.
And no, weren't they? Well, no, yeah. What? Okay, CDs, but CDs weren't CDs. DVD. Well, you have to add the format. I apologize. You're right. My
No!
bad.
No,
Yeah.
no, DVD
Sorry.
is like
Yeah.
4 times the capacity of CD. Hello, Logan, welcome, and oh, never mind.
Hello.
So, anyways, yeah, that's my stance on piracy. I'd say it's not even a necessary evil. Maybe it's evil for those who are doing the piracy, for those who are profiting off of the piracy, but those who buy pirated games because they have no other choice. Like, would you actually buy like 100 pesos for one PlayStation 1 disc versus 1,900 pesos for an authentic PlayStation 1 disc? Now, to give you some context, 1,900 pesos, that's what somebody would make in 2 weeks here. At that time. Right now, that's what somebody would make in 1 week. I make even less than that in a week, actually. Because I'm a full-time VTuber. So yeah. For pragmatists, would you actually spend the money to buy an authentic PS1 disc for what? For the bragging rights? When pirated disc works the same way, and lots of my old PS1 discs, all pirated, still work even today, just the same.
Mhm. Actually, because of the way the black discs were created, those burn out. Those die faster
They
than
die faster.
than the pirated discs. That's not a joke.
So
That is a real thing that actually happened.
the only authentic disc I have is the demo disc, Volume 7, which came with a PS1. Yeah, that one is a black disc. It still works.
Yeah, but not all of them do. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny how legitimately they kind of fucked up a little bit with that, and I kind of thought that was funny that they did that.
Alright.
So now my thoughts on this matter when it comes to this is there was an era back in the day. Same with I actually believe in piracy all the way. I believe in like VHS, DVDs, movies, all of it, music. Now, the reason I do that is because I have an avid belief in the backup system. I should
Okay.
be able to have if I have a VHS of say Batman 89 or yeah, it was a Batman yeah, it was Batman 89. If I had a thing of the Batman, I should be able to use that backup and have an internal backup to that Batman as long as I can. So if that game ever breaks, why should I, or that disc ever gets worn out, or a VHS eats it, why should I be screwed out of a movie I like because why do I need to spend another $15 to get that VHS? Now people will say to me, "Oh, well, you can just go to not Pirate Bay, you can go to eBay." Oh, so I can spend $600 on a movie I got for $5.
Okay,
That's where I come from with this.
it's a moral
And there
dilemma,
wasn't
isn't it? So what about
what?
it's a moral dilemma, isn't it? What about for a new game, which is digital only, and you pirate it?
Well,
What is
for
your say for
that,
that?
I look at it like this: determining on why I pirated it. What was the validation of my piracy? What was my reasoning behind the piracy? I kind of come from it for a little bit of a moral stance. Am I against people pirating? No, pirate all you want, baby. Fucking go. You
Yeah,
know,
baby.
like media is only good as what you can. Now the benefit was back in the day, like when I got my first Grand Theft Auto stuff, my very first Grand Theft Auto, that was someone being stupid putting the entire game on a demo disc and us just jailbreaking our way through the demo disc.
Nice. Let's ask Lexus,
But
actually. Or some input.
Good topic. Piracy is one of those things where the ethics and reality don't always line up neatly. Ideally, everyone should pay for games so devs get their due, but reality isn't ideal. For example, when companies let games go out of print, shut down servers, or region lock things unfairly, piracy sometimes becomes the only way to access them. It's also been crucial for preservation. There are games that'd be lost forever without pirates. That said, when a game is actively being sold and the devs are independent or struggling, piracy can really hurt them. It's different from pirating, say, a Nintendo game they refuse to re-release. So, necessary evil depends on the context. What's your stance, Orc?
His stance is the same as yours, Lexus.
well, yeah, it pretty much is. That's exactly right. It's my mentality is very simple. This needs to be like I would have no problem if they allowed us to be able to get these games. If we were able to have this with no issues, oh, here's a game, it's yours, done. I would never pirate ever again. I would No, that would be the end of it. Same with VHSs. If I was to get my VHSs at the same cheap price as I got it, because again, at one time, yard sales were a thing and they were a booming industry. Like they were one of the best things you could do back in the day. Yard sales were amazing. Like I got so me and my buddy at one time had so many VHS tapes between the two of us, we could fill his entire basement with like one wall was all VHS tapes. We had this old piece of wood that we put up to make sure that the VHSs weren't on the floor, and we slowly piled it up to the roof. That was insane. That was laugh out loud funny how much of these things we were actually able to get. So I think it's only fair, like I should be able to do that, like, and we would watch all these. We had hundreds and hundreds of movies. So how is it fair when these companies will be like, okay, you can't watch this anymore? There was a time for a little bit you couldn't get the movie Highlander, one of the greatest sword movie of all time, was hidden behind everything because one streaming service had it. You couldn't even get it via like copies like Blu-ray or something like that. I couldn't even get Blu-ray at one time for this. It was completely off the print. Now it's back up now, but there was a time when I couldn't get my hands on that. So how is that fair?
Yeah, true.
Now if companies didn't do that, guess what? I would never pirate. But because companies want to be assholes, fuck them. kind of how I feel about it. Don't screw me, and I won't screw you. Screw me, well, I have no problem taking my money and using it for something else, like food or resources or items. You know.
Yeah,
It's
and
also
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I would
Oh, go
say,
ahead.
I'd say in my case, since I can't really afford games, for example, most of the time, I'd have to save up for, I don't know, a few months if I actually wanted to buy something. So, I've had some people just tell me to use Steam Unlocked. You know who you are. You're right there in the chat. And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm not gonna do that. Because even if I can't afford it and I want to play a game, for example, I'd rather do it legitimately. Just for my personal conscience, you know. Because I know the game is still out there, it's still being sold. Even if the company that's putting it out is a big company like From Software, for example, Dark Souls. Like, I wanted to play this game for the longest time, but I couldn't afford it. So, one day, somebody told me, oh, you should just play Dark Souls. I'm like, okay, you guys wanted to play Dark Souls? Why don't we set up a fundraiser? You guys buy me the game, and then I'll play it. So that's how I ended up playing it, and I've been loving the game, by the way. Thank you very much to my community for buying that for me. Thank you, I love the game.
Yeah. Now the thing is, like, even I have a limit of what I consider too much and too little. Like, it's all depends on the silliness of what's going on with these companies. Like, I mean, we are like a good example of this is the Xbox Live Arcade. There are quite a few games on the Xbox Live Arcade gone, just fucking gone. So let's say you spend $29 on certain games. Guess what? You're not getting that game back. It's gone. Say goodbye to your $25, even though you spent money on a digital copy.
Time to pirate then.
Yeah. So what's the alternative? Like, and there are games that are actually legitimately gone. Like, there's a couple of them you can't get a copy of. I've tried.
Gone.
They don't exist, and they're amazing games. Just disappeared, never to be seen again. And I'm an avid believer of, you know, unless the game is absolute trash or garbage, I don't believe in games disappearing. Same thing with movies. I don't unless the movie is not worth like unless it's something completely insane. I don't believe in destroying games. Games are part of our like it's part of it's artistic value. That's like destroying a Mona Lisa in some ways.
Somebody tried to do that. Or was it something else?
Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, I know. Don't get me started on those individuals because I try to keep my I keep my conversations on the on Rumble if you want to see how I feel about certain groups that try to destroy works of art. Um, I don't have a good way of thinking about it. Let's put it that way.
Katsu Sanya says, modern society hates decent art, so makes sense that companies aren't giving any support to them. What do you think?
Well, yeah, in a way, kind of like I've seen it with I've seen it with like Sony floors me how much some of their stuff just vanished. Same with Xbox. There are quite a lot of games that you just can't get your hands on. Yeah, yeah. Well, Ruby's another good example. Look at Ruby. Ruby's pretty much dead at this point.
Do you know that Eugene C. Myers actually wrote some of those novels for Ruby and has actually written some episodes, I think.
Yeah. But it looks like Ruby, if anything, Ruby might end up in DC Comics if it ends up anywhere.
You know Eugene? You don't?
What was that?
Do you know Eugene?
No.
No? E.C. Myers Vids. He's part of the chat, part of the community. Also a retro gamer. He was part of whatever that was, Rooster Teeth, as a writer. Until they went down.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that now. Like I said, it was kind of interesting how it all ended, though. It ended in controversy and bankruptcy, and it's kind of sad.
To be honest, I don't really care about the Ruby franchise.
I actually did like the Ruby franchise when it first started coming out on YouTube. And then I lost interest as it went on. But it's back to the piracy stuff. I think if we stopped this bullshit with piracy, I think there'd be a lot of people that would be a lot more happier. I think, like I said, why does this stuff need to disappear? Why do they need to steal what we're enjoying? Thank you very much.
Basically, allow people to freely make backups of the games they buy, especially if it's physical, and just make copies and hand them out.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes sense. I don't think game sales are actually the top profit makers, even for game developers, unless they're small-time game developers. I don't think it's the game sales that actually support them, is it? Like, for example, if it's a big company like Sony, like, they usually sell their consoles at a loss, even. So I assume the same thing. So I assume the same thing applies to games as well. Like, for first-party games, for example, I think they might be. I think they might be sold at a loss, even.
No, they're not sold at a loss. Usually, what they do is the consoles are. But what they do is they sell it at they sell the games like everything's marked up by an exorbitant amount. But what they'll do is they'll sell it, and then they'll bank on the fact that even though they're going to sell it, they're going to sell it at a mass number. So that's why game exclusives were a big thing.
Yeah, but
isn't
it the retailers who decide? The retailers decide whether they want to stock up on the games or not.
Mm-hmm. But that's why exclusives became a thing. That's why amiibos are a fucking thing. Amiibos are one of the most shilliest shit I've ever seen. And it comes from a company I actually really enjoy, and that's Nintendo. And it's funny as fuck that they actually do that. And that's what I say about the piracy stuff as a whole. It's like you can't get if you let's say next console comes out and they don't have amiibo support. Well, you bought a bunch of pieces of plastic with a computer chip in it that's absolutely worthless unless you can find someone to buy it.
Alright.
Yeah, well, they also, for those that don't know, like, because one of the guys brought up Sony stuff. Sony makes money by taking a percentage of all console game sales. I think that's how they sell. Yeah, that's basically how they do it. That's how everybody does it. Game companies will pay to put their game on a console.
Depends on what you mean by stuff. If we're talking about hardware, yeah, big companies like Sony and Microsoft often sell their consoles at a loss, especially at launch. They make that money back through game sales, subscriptions, and accessories. Nintendo, on the other hand, usually sells their consoles at a profit, or at least break even. If we're talking about games, big publishers rarely sell at a loss unless it's part of a strategy, like getting people into an ecosystem. GTA 5 on Epic Games Store for free, for example. They might take losses on some games to make up for it with big sellers, but they don't usually price games below cost.
So, kind of right. Nintendo's biggest flop, the Wii U, was the one console that they sold at a loss. not by a large one, but by a small margin compared to the other consoles. But it is right. They do make their money off games, and that's how consoles kind of build their repertoire. It's not like it was before. The reason you bought a console was to get a cheaper alternative to a computer. And that was the primary function of a console at the time. Do you want to spend, $700 to have an arcade game, or do you want to spend $64, buy yourself a Nintendo, and hey, you get multiple games you could put in that little Nintendo thing, not just one. So it was a cost-effective thing. It was the alternative.
Well, to be honest, I'm thinking that a totally unfair system would probably be ideal if you want piracy to be legalized. Like, for example, rich countries like the US and Canada, you guys buy all your games authentic. Like, countries like the Philippines and other developing countries, yeah, we're free to pirate whatever we want. And it's all legal. There you go.
Yeah, well, there's no piracy laws, right? Well, there are. I think there's piracy laws in some parts of the Asia, but not all the countries.
There's piracy laws. There's definitely piracy laws. Yep.
Especially
if you're a signatory to the international intellectual property thing, intellectual property protection thing. Yep.
So what laws do you have for the Philippines when it comes to piracy?
Whatever is protected by international copyright law, of course.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really enforced. That's not really enforced at all anymore at this point.
It is though.
My other big.
It is though.
You'd have to do a lot of piracy, and you'd have to be selling stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the issue.
Yeah, exactly. Like, or for example, you use it inside of schools. You use a pirated copy of Microsoft Office or Windows inside of schools, inside of big corporate buildings. Definitely, you're going to get found out and you will be charged.
Really? I've never heard of that. And I've known multiple computers that have used literally one teacher. I remember back in the day, at least around my era, they took Windows, and what they did was they took one copy of Windows and booted Windows 98 on all our computers back in the day.
You could definitely get charged here. For example, for pirating a song, for pirating a piece of software. If you're out there in the open, like I said, in schools, in computer shops, anywhere else that's public, you will be subject for inspection. Or if you run a business, you'll be subject for inspection, and you can definitely be charged.
You know what's funny about that? Best Buy will sell you a computer with Windows on it every fucking time, and Windows already pre-installed. That's technically illegal in Canada.
Yeah.
I always found that funny. You're
here.
supposed to get a disc to warrant that, but they don't do that anymore. And they haven't done that in decades. It's legitimately, but the laws never shifted or changed. In Canada, some of the biggest gaming companies in the world will, the biggest electronic businesses in our country will fundamentally give you a computer with Windows on it automatically. It's laugh out loud funny.
Okay, you can only do that here if, for example, the Windows package is actually a part of the purchase price, or if the company that's selling it, company that's selling the particular brand of computer actually packages the software, like the OS, together with the computer. But if you're just a computer shop, you just assembled Frankenstein some parts together, and then you installed Windows on it, and it's a legitimate, or at least sort of legitimate or cracked copy of Windows, then you could be charged for that, and you will be found out. Like, the government has watchdogs everywhere for that sort of stuff, especially for retail computer shops.
Okay, so Psyche asked the question: Is it still yes? It is still illegal to walk into our in the Canadian Parliament and wearing a suit of armor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he asked. So,
Psyche said that wasn't the question.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought it looked like a question from here. So, in regards to piracy, it is a questionable thing, but considering I would say this: the pluses outweigh the negatives. What are the negatives? Companies will lose some profit. Smaller companies might have a bigger issue. Uh, Pro retro games, movies, and all this stuff still get to stay active because of this. Um, Emulation market will allow people to create new games and watch new stuff, and they might be inspired.
Yeah.
It also breeds a bunch of programmers in a lot of ways, like that, like emulation, like creating. Like my friend became a programmer because of him cracking and jailbreaking Grand Theft Auto. That was his start at becoming a reasonably skilled programmer, and works in a couple businesses, which I'm not going to mention where he works, but he does work somewhere that actually gets him some good programming. And it was just him learning how to jailbreak and learning how to crack a disc and get us the original Grand Theft Auto was where it started. Hell, one of my friends who works in the movie industry, he got his start by copying VHS tapes. So I kind of have a positive note to piracy when it comes to that. And again, piracy's been around forever. VHS tapes and cassette recorders. So this idea that you can stop it or defeat it's silly. I think they should release the rules a little bit. But Al, I want to know what should be the rules for piracy for you? What are your guidelines?
Well, as always, I think it's all about making a compromise. Like, if you completely allow piracy to happen, I think it's gonna hit the indie devs more than the big companies who can actually absorb the loss from piracy, as they have been doing for years. Like, they always pretend to be fighting piracy, right? But they know for a fact that they can't actually win. I'm sure they're not stupid. So it's more like they do that as a some kind of deterrent. So I think what we could do if you want to allow piracy to I guess to be more legal is to set some guidelines for it. Like you can make a copy of your own game if you've already bought it, especially if it's a physical disc or something. Then you should be free to make copies of that all you like. But the moment you try selling that for profit, yeah, like you burn a disc that you bought and then you try to sell that to somebody else, then I would say that's the type of piracy that we should forbid. Now, how do we keep track of stuff like that? I don't know. That's their problem, right? It's a problem of people who have a problem with piracy. But yeah, I think that should be the line that we draw. The moment you try to make a profit off of piracy, rather than earnestly attempting to archive your own stuff, or just, letting your friends enjoy a game that you bought. So yeah, that's my stance on the whole matter.
Mine's a simple rule, a 10-year rule. If the copy of the game that you have that has or product that you've created, it is if the original creators are not making money off it,
That's just like
it's been 10 years.
That's just
As
like
long
the
as you're
patent
not
system.
as long as you haven't done anything for 10 years, it should be open to allowing free source and open source.
I mean,
None of this 50-year fucking crap that they have right now.
Yeah, public domain.
Let's allow people to have it and like they can't steal it. And you're making money thing, I totally agree. That's the way it should be, because I'm an avid believer of I have lots of digital copies of movies and games and stuff that I now have. I should be able to go, here you go, LCX, here's some games I have. Do you want to play them? Here you go, Logan, here's some games I have. Do you want to play them? And I should be able to give those to you, and I shouldn't have to worry about, oh my god, that's going to get me in trouble, or I'm going to go to jail because I give you a game from a digital market, which what a lot of major companies are trying to do. As for indie developers, I believe that protects indie developers. 10 years for game is pretty good. That guarantees a market up to 10 years.
So basically, it's like the you want to make something like the public domain system, but lessen it to 10 years. 10 years of the game being out of circulation in the market, right? Or is it just that the game is 10 years old? Which is...
No, the game's 10 years out of circuit. 10 years out of circuit.
Oh, okay.
So that almost guarantees any video game right now, actively.
Okay. The Chinese profit off of piracy, that's why they're number one. And America being in 36 trillion in debt. Which,
Debatable.
Which the US does not have to pay, by the way. Who's going to compel the US to pay if they don't want to?
That's exactly right. But yeah, I'd like to thank you all for helping with the little collab here. I figured it'd be a fun little thing I can put on the channel while I'm still working on Batteries Not Included.
Alright. Are we done?
I have stalled right the fuck out on that one due to the fact that all the audio got corrupted. And I've just kind of stopped. I'm working on podcasts, and that's more, and other stuff right now in real life, so it's like So thank you so much. I can add this to the chat, and tonight will be the second Devil May Cry 3, or the Devil May Cry at pops on the Netflix. I will be doing a short review of the first 3 episodes.
Alright.
Yep.
Okay, we done? So let's ask.
Oh yes, we're done.
Let's ask Lexus for some final words then.
Okay.
Right. She's thinking. She had to think about that.
My stance is kinda like what I said earlier. Piracy isn't always black and white. Ideally, people should buy what they consume, especially if it supports creators directly. But when corporations hoard media, lock it behind absurd restrictions, or abandon it entirely, piracy can be the only way to keep it alive. For me, it's about ethics over legality. If a company refuses to sell a game, if it's been delisted, region locked, or otherwise made inaccessible, then piracy is just preservation. But if a game is actively being sold and the developers rely on sales, then pirating it is kinda screwing them over. Same logic applies to other media. If a publisher makes it impossible to legally access something, piracy can be justified. But I won't pretend it's always noble. Some people pirate just to avoid paying, and that's different from someone trying to play a lost classic. What about you, Elle? Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, if you can afford it, buy it. That's my stance, basically. Alright. So, end recording, I guess.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.